Hey guys, my name is Kayla. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry I've been a little bit MIA lately. There's been a lot happening in my life. I finally, finished school. So I feel like this huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Had my final presentations, delivered my thesis, everything. And honestly, I'm just happy that it's over. This was my first official, I guess, week that I don't know if you call it vacation, but like whatever, it's my first week off, and I do feel a sense of longing to go back. Like I miss being there and seeing my friends and stuff like that, but I'm also just like super relieved that I get to sleep in, can go back to doing my own thing, working out, working on my blog, etc. So I apologize for like the 2-week hiatus, but from here on out I'm really going to focus on trying to bring you guys content. My goal is once a week. If it happens more than that, then that's great, but I'm going to try and commit to once a week. And for the first video back, I thought that we could go back to the cancer diaries and kind of talk about the next things that were happening during my treatment. And to be honest, I've tried to film this video now like 6, 7, maybe even 8 times, and every time I filmed it, I keep feeling like I'm getting really overwhelmed. I'm talking about too much information. I'm kind of rambling all over the place. So I think I just need to really break it down into just really simple facts and just kind of tell the story of what that day was like. And what I'm basically going to be talking about is the first day of chemo. So I've been trying to tell the story as like kind of like an overview of what my chemotherapy was like, but it's just too much information to talk about all in one video. So I'm going to break it down into a couple of videos. Not really sure how the other ones are going to be planned out yet, but this video is going to focus on my first time doing chemo ever. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so I was diagnosed on November 21st, 2014, and I think it was a week or maybe 2 weeks later when I officially started my chemo. I actually don't remember the official date, but I think I wrote it down in one of my journals, so if I find it, I will just put it right here. So I went in for my first treatment. My boyfriend at the time came with me, and we went in, and I was like super like, hi ho, it's off to work we go kind of thing. I was like, all right, we're just gonna go, we're gonna get this done, we're gonna come home, we're gonna do some homework or whatever. Like I was totally like, it's gonna be fine. So we get there, I am in the waiting room, they call me in, and the nurse says, where's your PICC line? And I was like, what? She's like, where's your PICC line? I'm like, oh, I don't have one. She's like, well, why don't you have one? And I was like, well, my oncologist said that I could not get one and just do an IV every time. So just backtracking a little bit, a PICC line is basically like this external IV that sits in your arm, and it has a tube that goes from your arm all the way into the cavity of your chest. So basically they hook up the IV to this tube every time so they don't have to poke you and find a vein, and then the drugs get delivered right into your body, right into like your chest. When my oncologist asked if I wanted one, I didn't really know what to think about it. I didn't want one because I was still in school. I was an art student, so I was constantly working with my hands, and I didn't want to have to take care of this like basically third appendage that was going to be sticking out of my arm. I didn't want to have to take care of it or risk damaging it or it falling out or whatever. So I asked if I could just do it with an IV every time, and she said, yeah, that would be fine. Obviously that was not fine because the oncology nurse was like, no, like you need to go get one. And she told me that just by looking at my arms, I don't know if you guys can see, but she said you have hidden veins, which means that your veins are really deep and they're really hard to get to. So it's just going to be torturous every time you come here for us to like try and get a vein, and then you end up basically risking the chance of that vein collapsing because the drugs are so powerful. It basically destroys the vein as it's going through. And because I'm so young, they didn't want me to ruin all of my good veins, which I might need later on in my life for something else. So she obviously said, okay, today we'll just do an IV, but I'm going to make you an appointment to go get a PICC line. And at first I was kind of like pissed off. So I'm like, you can't tell me what to do. But then after that first day of chemo, I was like, please God, give me this PICC line because I cannot go through this every time for the next 6 months. So I go into the basically chemo room, and it's not like what you see on the TV shows. You don't all sit in a row and you're hooked up to machines and like, it's not like that. It's kind of sectioned off into like little, like almost foursome cubicles. Some of them were 2, some of them were 4. Then there was also a couple of rooms. And basically you're kind of like in this little nook with other people or empty chairs. You have like a TV, there was like a window, there was like those curtains, you know, when you're at a hospital, those curtains, so if you wanted privacy, you could have it. It was actually a really nice setting. The only thing was it has this very particular smell, and I don't really know how to describe it. It was kind of like formaldehyde, but also cleaning agent, and like just like that hospital smell, but kind of like next level. So that smell really like started to bother me after a while, because it was like a trigger for me. Every time I got there and I smelled that, I would start to get anxious because I'd have to go do my chemo. So I get my own cubicle because I was there in the morning and no one else was there, and she is looking for a vein. They put these hot towels on my arms to basically help the veins kind of come to the surface. And the reason why I have deep veins, just as a side note, is my skin is so dry, is because I have fibromyalgia, or what's thought to be fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition. And if you guys want to know more about that, drop me a comment below and I can do a whole video about that, but I'm not going to get into it today. But essentially one of the side effects is having these veins that are kind of hidden. So whatever, she's putting the hot packs on, she's trying to get the veins to come up to the surface. Finally she sees one in the worst place possible, basically right here in my wrist. She was like, oh, you have a vein there, and she shoves this massive needle in there, and I kid you not, I almost passed out. I'm not afraid of needles, but that specific part of your body, I guess, is so sensitive that when she put the needle in, I literally thought I was going to throw up and then pass out. I basically had to close my eyes and practice like meditative deep breathing and like incline the chair backwards because I was in so much pain. And then after she puts the IV in and she starts me on a saline drip, I'm still feeling this really bad nausea, so she brings me some like ginger ale. She brought me some crackers, but obviously I'm gluten-free, so I couldn't eat any of them. And then this other nurse comes over and starts asking me all of these questions as kind of like an introduction to chemo kind of thing and what to expect. And I literally could not tell you anything she said. I was just nodding my head because I was feeling so ill. I thought I was going to pass out. I couldn't even concentrate on what she was saying. So I think she was talking about just basically the side effects that I might feel and the drugs that I was going to be taking. She was an intern, so she was kind of young too. I think I remember asking her if all my hair was going to fall out, and she told me it would, and I was really pissed off at her, and I made it my mission to prove her wrong, which in the end actually I didn't lose all my hair, so I kind of proved her wrong a little bit, but anyways, that's besides the point. So after about 30 minutes of feeling like I'm gonna die, the nausea finally goes away, and I'm on the saline drip, and I'm just sitting there, my boyfriend's there, and we're just talking. I think we're watching TV or something. So then the oncology nurse comes back over, and she's like, she brings all the drugs, and she's like, okay, here's your basically chemo treatment. And here's what all the drugs do. So I'll give you guys like a really quick kind of recap. So I was on ABVD treatment, which is a 6 session treatment. And each session you have two, I don't know what you call it, parts, part A and part B. So you're essentially getting your treatment 12 times, but it's grouped into sessions. So 2 times per session, so 6. And essentially it's about 6 months, give or take, unless you get delayed. So like I said, I was on this chemo treatment called ABVD, and that stands for doxorubicin, bleomycin, vinblastine, and I always have problems pronouncing this last one, dacarbazine. I think. I'll write them all here just in case you're curious about them. And essentially each one is measured to be a different amount, and they all work in conjunction together to kill the cancer. And then on the side, or kind of in combination with those drugs, I was also on steroids. I was on dexamethasone, and I was also on anti-nausea pills just to help with any nausea I was having. The nausea pills were just as a recovery, basically, like just in case I felt sick, but the steroids themselves were part of the treatment, as well as to make me not feel like a piece of shit every day. So I would go, they'd start me on this IV, this saline, and then they would start giving me each of the drugs one by one. And the whole treatment in itself took about 4 hours. Everything was okay until I got, I think it was the last one, the dicarbazine. I think that was the one. When they started putting that through the IV, my entire body felt like it was on fire. My whole arm was shaking. It was burning from the inside. It literally felt like someone had lit you on fire from the inside, like if you had a really bad sunburn but coming from the inside out. It was in so much pain. It was like, I can't even describe it to you. It was like getting hit with a bunch of hammers and having these Charlie horses and bruises, and it was awful. And I had to sit through it for an hour because I didn't have a PICC line, so I could feel everything that was happening in my arm and in my body. So they gave me some like heat packs and stuff to put on it, and she gave me some more anti-nausea stuff because she thought I was gonna throw up, even though I was just like in a lot of pain. And then finally, what they did was they slowed down the speed of the chemo going into my arm, and then I was gonna say rinsed it. They diluted it with saline, so it wasn't like super concentrated, and that really ended up being the best result, was just diluting it and slowing it down. So that ended up taking a little bit longer just because I couldn't handle the pain. But then after they diluted it, I could still feel it, but it was manageable, and I have a pretty good pain tolerance, I think. So, you know, maybe for someone else they would have to just do something different, but that worked for me. So after my chemo was all done, about 4 hours later, they gave me some instructions for like how to take the rest of my drugs when I got home, which was the anti-nausea and the steroids. And then I basically left, and my boyfriend drove me home. And I remember my mom had made, I think it was chili, it was turkey chili. And when we got home, I felt fine. I felt a little, I had this like bad taste in my mouth. Like my mouth was really dry, and I had this like, you know when you're sick and you're really congested and your mouth just feels really powdery, but it's got like this weird like taste, like metallic almost. I had that taste, and I felt off, but I didn't feel like bad. I felt like, okay, I don't feel normal, which obviously I had like a bunch of poison in my body. I wouldn't feel normal, but I recognized that, okay, I don't feel normal, but I feel okay. Like if I had to, I could go to school or go to work or whatever. I didn't, obviously. I went home, I had a big bowl of turkey chili, and I watched TV basically until my parents got home. Everything was fine. And then that night I was really tired. And I remember throwing up all of my chili all over the floor. It like splattered onto the walls. It went under my bed, and my mom had to clean it up. It was so gross. And I was really upset because I was like, why did I throw everything up? I took the anti-nausea pill like they told me to, and then obviously I realized that, like, you know, I probably shouldn't have eaten like such a heavy meal of like a big bowl of turkey chili, but that was the only thing I ate after my treatment. I later found out that actually, I don't know if I was allergic to it, but the anti-nausea pill, instead of making me feel better, it actually made me throw up. So I discovered, I think it was after the third time I had the chemo, that, okay, this anti-nausea pill is making me throw up, I'm gonna stop taking it. And I stopped taking them altogether, and I was fine. I was 100% better. I didn't throw up once after I stopped taking the pill, and the doctor and nurses were very surprised actually that I didn't have any problems with nausea after I stopped taking it. But they were like, as long as it's working for you, then that's fine. It's not part of your treatment. It was just to make you feel better. So I stopped taking it. I did end up going to see my naturopath, and I got some naturopathic or homeopathic remedies for it. I can't remember the name of what it was, but I'll insert a photo of it right here, or the name right here. It's basically like this oil, and it's made with like charcoal, and you put it under your tongue whenever you're feeling nauseous, like 10 drops, and it kind of like seeps into your body, and it just kind of gets rid of the nausea, and it works really well. I would really recommend it to anyone who's not into synthetic drugs and thinks that they can do it the other way. I would recommend this way. And that was basically my first chemo experience. So I had chemo on Tuesdays, so from Tuesday until the next Tuesday I didn't have any more treatment. And that was like kind of my recovery time. So what happened during that time after my first, so after actually my first I think 2 or 3 treatments, but I was in so much pain. And it's not just like, oh, my muscle hurts, it's like this pain is making me hunch over into like a granny. Like I had, and I don't know if it's because this is where my cancer was, or I really don't know the answer, but all of my pain was situated like in my upper body, down my arms, into my chest, and in my back, and all the way down my back. And it was just like this boom, 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 like pulsating pain that would like come from inside and would just pulsate through you. And it was like you were so stiff and you were so sore, and like I could barely lift my arms up. I couldn't like put my hands in fists. It was just like really, really bad pain, and I was taking like Tylenols and Advils and all these things, and nothing ever helped. Heat packs on it, I took like baths, I did like stretching, nothing helped this pain, and I was just crying for like a week straight basically. And I was able to eat, and like my food intake was fine, but the pain was just so bad. Finally I went to the urgent care back at where I got my treatment done, and I went to the cancer clinic right when it opened at 7 a.m. and they told me to go to urgent care downstairs. So I went down there, and then I finally saw a doctor, and they gave me some basically narcotics to help with the pain. And I took those, and like within 20 minutes I was like so much better. But I was also in kind of like this like, you know, a little bit woozy stage, and I basically just slept for like 2 days after that because I hadn't slept for 2 days. So since that point I always had that pain, but it was never as bad as that first time. And I think that's because, again, I didn't have that PICC line. I had the IV right in my arm, and I think the chemo was just like my body was in shock from like getting this poison put into it, that it just, this was how it dealt with it, was this pain. And then once I got the PICC line, I still had the pain, but it was much more manageable. And I was able to just use the prescription the doctor gave me throughout the whole 6 months. I didn't have to take a lot of it. I'm not really like a synthetic drug type of person. So I was able to really manage the pain with just like a couple pills here or there. But then alongside all of my treatment, I was also seeing my naturopath and trying to help my body with natural things, so I wasn't just relying on drugs, to make sure that my levels stayed really well. Because if your levels, and by levels I mean like your blood counts, if your levels drop below a certain number, I don't know what the number was, if you drop below that number, you're basically at a greater risk for not being able to come back from that round of chemo. So what they do is they delay you, and they delay you like a couple days, and you come back into another blood test and they see how it is. And if you keep getting delayed, your whole treatment gets pushed back every, like as many days as you're delayed. So it really kind of puts a dent in like the future of your treatments. I don't think it has any effect on the effectiveness. I mean, I don't know. I would assume that the longer you wait between treatments, the less effective it could be, but I'm not a doctor, I have no idea. But it's really important as a cancer patient to make sure that you maintain those levels, so that you can make sure that every time you go to an appointment, you can get it done, you can move to the next one. And I personally believe the best way to do that is through food, nutrition, and like just bodily wellness. And I think a lot of people, just from my own experience of seeing this in my family and then when I was in my treatment, they fall into that kind of pit of despair where it's like, oh, I'm so sick, I can't eat, I can't drink, I can't do anything, and they just get worse and worse, and they are never able to keep pushing forward through their treatments. And I think that that's one thing that I really try to take the reins on and have that control of, like, I can control what I put into my body and make myself feel good. Obviously I still had bad days where I like had some pizza or had like chips or whatever, but I still tried to really eat foods that would nourish my body so I never missed a treatment. And I didn't. I never missed a single treatment. Actually, that's a lie. I missed one treatment, but it was because my doctor was on vacation and there was a fill-in doctor and she just didn't know what she was doing. So I don't want to talk about that right now because I'm going to get pissed off. But yeah, so the first day of chemo was hard, and I came in being really positive and I left being somewhat positive, but then that whole night and the next 2 days, just all of that pain just drained all of my positivity out of me, and it took a while for me to get that back, but I ended up getting it back. And once I got my PICC line, which I'll talk to you about in the next video, things got better. Obviously it's still shitty, your whole situation is shitty, what you're going through is shitty, but having this made it a little bit more bearable. Yeah, that was basically my first experience. You just have to take care of your body well enough to know that after you're done, like, you're gonna get better. It's gonna take time, and you may not be in the exact same place that you were before you started, or the same person, but that's okay. Do you hear this? I told them I was doing a video and they're just like, I'm gonna make all the noise in the world. Anyways, I think I've rambled on enough for this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I love interacting with you guys, and if you want to know more about something or something that I missed, then please let me know again in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and follow along. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the week. Enjoy this beautiful weather in Toronto. It's like almost 30 degrees outside. A little too hot for me, but I'll take it over that cold winter. And yeah, thanks so much. Bye.